Now, is it time to ban knife sales online? So specifically online. Get your calls in for this. 0207 862 2222 is the number. The Prime Minister has said that it is shockingly easy for children to obtain knives, adding that the Southport killer Axel Rudakubana, who murdered 3 children at a Taylor Swift dance class, was able to do so online without any checks or barriers, and despite having showed clear intent to use them. Now, Keir Starmer branded Ruda-kubana a 2-click killer in a piece for The Sun and said that he would ensure that people are protected in the future. Ruda-kubana bought a knife from Amazon when he was just 17, despite having a conviction for a violent assault on a school pupil. Now, yesterday, Home Secretary Yvette Cooper shared her anger about this in the Commons.
And despite the fact that he'd been convicted for violence and was just 17, he was easily able to order a knife on Amazon. That's a total disgrace, and it must change.
Currently, customers ordering knives on Amazon, for example, have to enter their birthday, and then verify. That has to be verified by a delivery driver, as they require proof of age before handing the package over at your front door. So online retailers will soon have to get customers to submit ID and a video recording of themselves when buying knives. But should we go even further and just ban online sales altogether? What do you think, Angela?
Yeah, most definitely, most definitely. Of course, that's only one tool in the armoury in terms of fighting knife crime, and we have to look at the very deep and often heinous reasons why people carry out knife crime. You know, some of it may be self-defence or whatever, but the fact is there's a lot of terrible, well, as best articulated by the Southport atrocity. We have to get over this issue of kind of the casual acquisition of knives. And if you're going to do it online, then you can do it very easily. Now, the problem with online is also you can hack most of your way round all the kind of security checks that are in place. The person that answers the door can say they are who they say they are, or you can falsify documentation, you can falsify identification. There's also areas of the dark web where people will try and get them anyway. So if this is just one way of removing access to knives, then it also sends out a very, very serious message. It is stigmatising the purchase of knives unless it's for very, very sort of normal and domesticated purposes. It makes sense that you go into a shop and you buy them in places in the main supermarkets, and there you have to show proof of age. You're being watched by cameras anyway. I just think that I can't think of a good reason why we wouldn't prevent knives being bought online.
Jovan, where do you stand on this?
I recognise all of the things that you said, and I think they're really concerning. But my immediate thought was a 2-click verification is not going to solve the 2-click killer. And the issue is all of these horrible, horrible weapons are going to be brought underground. They're just going to be brought into a more illicit market. They're going to become more extreme, bigger, probably more dangerous, and they're going to be just as easily accessed as they are today, just in an illicit market where there is a concentration of knives. And I think that is a huge issue, is that I fear the second you ban something, you just create a new market for it elsewhere.
Yeah, but that's probably true. But equally, we're assuming that people have the time and resources and know-how to really, really venture into the darkest corners of the internet. At the moment, you have a situation where the criminal fraternity can bulk buy knives, you know, in many which ways they want. They're all over 21, they've got valid identification, you get loads of people to buy them. You know, it creates an ease of access for the purchase of knives. And that's why it's a good reason not to be able to get them.
But then if you wanted to do some damage, you could just go into most kitchens across the UK and just pick one out of a drawer. Roger from East Sussex, what's your thoughts when it comes to banning the sale of knives, online sale of knives?
Good morning. Well, firstly, you don't even have to buy them online. You've just got to look at the commercial TV stations advertising husk knives, for example, reduced to $29.99. So it's just so easy to buy these things, and they're advertised on TV.
Yes, but presumably these knives that are being advertised on TV are being advertised for domestic use, and presumably as well, if you're going to buy the knives on at one of these TV channels, you're going to have some identification, similar to those of online. I'm presuming they'll ask your birth date when you call up, and then when it is delivered, the delivery driver will again ask for verification. The question is, do we trust delivery drivers to do that job? Remember how much pressure they're under and how many drop-offs they have to make in a day. That's a lot more to ask them to do.
I wouldn't think so. No, these delivery drivers, they don't ask for a signature. They'll just leave it in your porch, like Amazon drivers do.
Well, I have to say, without naming anything or anyone, I did buy for Christmas my husband a shaving blade, and it was just left at my front porch, even though I've...
And this is it. You can go through all the processes outside online, and then there's just a knife landed on your porch. You don't know whose hands it's gone into. There's no
Or who could pick it up as well, you know, anyone walking past the house. So it's a very interesting discussion. Thank you very much for your call, Roger. We are going to pause it there. Probably make it clear that you aren't actually allowed to buy most knives anywhere online or in shops until you are 18, with very, very few exemptions on that. Broderick from London, you're up first on the phones. What's your view?
Yes, I'd just like to say, Storm, you look absolutely fabulous.
Oh.
You look good.
Broderick.
I'm not trying to chat you up, but you do. You look absolutely fabulous.
You're embarrassing
Tell your
me
husband
now.
to stop phoning in.
Okay, let's get to the task at hand, though. How do we feel about the online sale of knives? It is quite shocking how easy it is to obtain these sorts of knives.
Yes, it is shocking. But I live in Streatham High Road. I could go to at least 5 shops, and a person of 10, 11 can walk in and buy a knife. They won't get stopped. They can walk into supermarkets with self-checkout. Well, half the time there's no staff there. They can buy the knife, pay for the knife, and walk out without being stopped. You're not going to stop knife crime. They can go to their mother and get a knife.
Well, the self-checkout, I find that very hard to believe, because I really struggle to buy a sort of liqueur chocolate at those self-checkouts without the alarm going off and having to wait there 5 minutes till somebody comes round. Well, you know, you could walk in, steal a knife and run out. Equally so, you could be in somebody's kitchen and just take a knife. So knives we use them for cooking every day. I mean, they are incredibly accessible things. So would a ban of the online sale do anything to stop these sorts of atrocities?
It might stop the whole country. It might stop 5 killings.
Well, isn't 5
That's
enough?
my way of thinking.
Okay.
But you can get knives anywhere. A friend can ask a friend, and so forth. You know, they're streetwise, these people. They know where to get things, what they're not allowed to have. You know, anything can be got hold of.
Broderick, thank you very much for your call. Elizabeth from Surrey, banning the online sale, would that just stop the average person being able to get their new set from moving into their new flat?
Well, one wonders, but the thing I'm more concerned about is that, you know, you shouldn't be able to just buy a knife. What is the purpose of the knife for the first, you know, online, as it were? And why are they allowed to be traded, bought and sold? Because they're dangerous, and all knives should be handed in and destroyed, those type of knives, and anyone who doesn't do so should be dealt with by the law.
Okay, Elizabeth, that's a fair view to have. However, I don't know about you guys, but I have 6 knives at home, and I use them every single day. Not all of them, but so am I to hand them in as well, Elizabeth?
No, we were talking about knives bought online.
I bought my knives online.
No. When we're talking about knives that are used nastily, we're talking about
but here's
the
the
ones
thing,
to
Elizabeth.
what you would have.
But here's the thing, Elizabeth, I understand what you're trying to say, but what I am saying is that most of these knives that are bought online are bought for completely reasonable domesticated purposes. You probably have a lovely set of knives at home that you use for cooking that you're meticulous with, as I am. I'm sure Angela, Jovan, you're all the same. The problem is that all of those knives that we have at home could be used in really, really terrible ways. And how do we separate that?
And this is why banning them, it becomes a cat and mouse. You're constantly chasing the person who purchased them. You're wondering what they're using them for. And I just don't think that this is the most effective way of addressing this problem.
But it would be only one element of a broader policy to drill down into why people are doing that. If your intent of causing harm to another person, then a lot of things become a dangerous item in your hands. You know, you can take a bottle, smash it, use the broken glass, and you're on your way. I think it's the very fact that we ban them sends out a message. It just adds to the stigmatising message that knives are dangerous. If you're buying them, people are looking at you and watching you and wondering what you're going to do with it, and that can't hurt.
But Elizabeth makes a very good point. I think what you're trying to get to, Elizabeth, is the sort of zombie knives, the sort of prestige knives that maybe gang members want to have. Those sorts of things, and I think we are looking at ways of shutting that down, although I did have a quick Google this morning and it is very easy to access those sorts of knives online, unfortunately still. But thank you for your call. Neville from Manchester, what's your view on this?
Hi, good morning, panel. It's quite simple, really. I mean, it's quite evident that bans do not work. That's why banned drivers still get behind the wheel. Look, we need to change the law and change it immediately so that anybody found in possession of a bladed article outside of your home or workplace faces the potential of a life sentence. Now, until those first couple of young people, however old, get 10 to 15 years for just being in possession of any kind of blade, whether it be a Stanley blade or a zombie knife, nobody is going to understand. None of them are going to actually understand the gravity of the fact of the potential of what they can do.
What do you think?
It's as simple as that.
What do you think about it, Jovan?
Well, I mean, I think that's a bit of a hardline position to take. Sadly,
it's the only line we can take.
So are you talking about...
Look, the same thing happened with the gun crime in Manchester. I lived through the 80s, and I mean, I live by Pepper Hill Road, which over in 1 year, over 32 people were murdered on. And the only thing that stopped gun proliferation in the UK and ammunition at the rate that it was going at was when they changed the law to you getting an automatic 20 years for the firearm and 5 years for every bullet that comes with it. And that solved it overnight.
And then what happens when they found another weapon to use to do awful things against people? And this is the qualm that I have.
This is the thing, isn't it? We can't just sit on our hands and keep watching these children being put into pine boxes and being put in the ground.
No,
it's as simple as that.
At the same time, I mean, there's a whole range of reasons as to why people
if people don't smoke, then they're going to go into vapes or they'll find another... Yes, people will always find another way, but that is not the attitude to have, especially from a young black male such as yourself.
Well, I think there's a whole range of reasons as to why people carry guns, why people carry knives with them. There's a kind of societal issue at play why this is an issue that's taken place in London, it's taken place in Yorkshire, it's taken place in Glasgow, it's taken place across British towns and cities. We have to really look at the root cause of this. There has been an underfunding in youth services. There has been a kind of, I think there's been a rejection of some kind of morality as a country more broadly as to why people feel it's acceptable to carry these knives around. We have to look at the picture holistically. The knives are a symptom of a much bigger problem.
But they're not mutually exclusive. I think what Neville's saying is not that one wouldn't deny all of those things are true. But I think what you're suggesting, Neville, is some kind of increased stop and search approach to this, whereby you know, and we need police on the street for this, by the way.
Well, and increased punishments.
Yeah, so it's a two-handed thing. The legislation has to be there, but we have to have police on the street who are going to say, you know, I see a gang of youths in an undesirable area. You know, we're going to take a punt that they may be carrying knives. We're going to stop and search them. And stop and search is. I mean, I agree with it.
Why is it easier for a 12-year-old to get a knife online than it is to go to some local support services, to some local youth centre, to mix with their peers, to mix with their friendship group? This is a fundamental issue about the nature of our society. I think, yes, banning knives may have some impact and some outcome, but I think if we're working towards a more sustainable approach, not just banning things, then we'll have more effective kind of results.
Look at the reasons that we have the problem in the first place. Neville, thank you very much for your call. I think I've got time for another. Tracy from Essex, banning people buying knives online?
I don't see the point in banning it, to be perfectly honest, because I think to do that, all it's going to do is increase theft. And you'll get everybody else having the knock-on effect of the problems that will cause as well. I have a knife in my kitchen drawer, and the knife has, the blade alone is an 19-inch blade. That's a cake knife. It's an actual cake knife brought from an actual cake shop where you buy stuff to actually make wedding cakes and stuff. So it's a knife with a blade big enough to be able to cut through a deep cake.
Yes, got you.
That's how easy it is to go and get a knife from the streets, from a shop. They go in that, they'll steal it. If they can't get it online, they'll steal it. And then once people are out stealing, there's the whole fear. They're scared of getting caught, so straight away they're defensive. They're pushing people out the way. People are getting hurt in different ways. And there's the whole fear, and people will stop going out. People are trying to bring back the high streets and trying to get people to go shopping. That will all phase out more and more because people will be too scared to go out because of the amount of theft and what they're going out trying to steal.
OK, Tracy, thank you very much for your call.